There are moments in life that divide everything into before and after. For me, it was a knock on the door one stormy night 10 years ago. Back then, I lived in a tiny rental house tucked at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac just outside Asheville. I was 27, single, and working part-time at a local library while finishing my graduate degree online. My life was quiet, bordering on forgettable. And I liked it that way. After everything that happened in our family, silence felt like safety. I hadn't spoken to my sister Clara in over a year. It wasn't a blowout that caused the distance between us. More like a slow crumbling, fractures that started forming in our teenage years and deepened as we got older. She was wild, magnetic, unpredictable. The kind of person who lit a room on fire and disappeared before the smoke cleared. I was the opposite. Cautious, structured, the one always cleaning up after her chaos. And there was always chaos. But I never stopped worrying about her. So when I heard that knock on the door, 3 sharp raps right after midnight, I somehow knew before I even opened it. It was her. I hadn't seen Clara in over 14 months, but the second I opened the door, there she was, drenched to the bone, eyes glassy and red, strands of wet hair plastered to her face. She didn't say hello. She didn't even ask to come in. She just stood there under the porch light, shaking, holding something wrapped in a pale pink blanket. I blinked. Clara! Her lips were trembling. She didn't answer right away. She looked past me into the living room like she was searching for something, or deciding whether she could trust me. Finally, her voice came out low and hoarse. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside wordlessly, heart pounding. The wind howled as she crossed the threshold, dripping water onto the hardwood floor. She cradled the bundle close to her chest. I still hadn't seen the face inside. "What's going on?" I asked. "Are you hurt? Is someone after you?" "Clara, what is this?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked slowly to the couch, lowered herself carefully onto the edge, and pulled back a corner of the blanket. And that's when I saw her. A baby. Tiny. Newborn. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyelids fluttering as she slept. A soft tuft of dark hair curled at her temple. "Clara!" My throat tightened. "Is she?" "She's mine," Clara whispered, barely audible. I sat down across from her. "What's going on? Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant? Where have you been?" She shook her head slowly. "There's no time. I shouldn't have come here. But I didn't know where else to go. I can't keep her safe, Aaron." "What are you talking about? Safe from what?" Clara leaned forward and pressed the baby gently into my arms. I didn't even have time to object. I just instinctively reached for her. She was warm, soft, weightless. Clara's hands lingered for a second longer than they should have. Then she stood. "I need you to take her," she said. "Just for a while. A few weeks. Maybe longer." I stared at her. You can't just show up in the middle of the night with a baby and disappear again like nothing happened. This isn't how life works, Clara. She didn't meet my eyes. "You're the only one I trust. Please." Her name is Lily. I looked down at the baby. "Lily." She stirred a little in my arms, letting out a small sigh. "She's so little," I murmured. "She can't be more than—" "6 days," Clara whispered. Then her voice broke. "I haven't slept since she was born." The room was still. Thunder rolled in the distance. "You need help," I said gently. "You both do. Just stay here tonight. We'll figure it out. I'll help you." She shook her head, backing toward the door. "No one can help me." And before I could stop her, she pulled open the door and ran out into the storm, barefoot, coatless, into the freezing night. I rushed after her, heart racing, but by the time I reached the porch, she was gone. The street was empty. Just rain. Cold, relentless rain. Inside, Lily let out a tiny cry. I stood there, frozen between the storm outside and the child in my arms, my sister's voice still echoing in my ears. "Keep her safe." I didn't know it yet, but that night marked the beginning of a new life, for both of us, and the end of the one I thought I knew. I didn't sleep that night. After Clara vanished into the rain, I stood on the porch for what felt like hours, scanning the street like she might materialize again from the shadows. But the street remained silent, just the occasional flicker of lightning, the hush of falling water, and the low hum of the wind against the trees. I kept Lily close to my chest, wrapped in Clara's damp blanket. Her breath was soft and steady, rising and falling against me in the tiniest rhythm. She smelled faintly of lavender and formula and something else, something familiar and heartbreaking. The scent of abandonment. Eventually, I went back inside. I dried us both off, changed into warm clothes, and rummaged through my closet for an old storage bin of baby things I'd kept from a babysitting job years ago. One stained onesie, a pacifier, and a nearly expired container of wipes. Not much, but it was something. I sat with Lily in the rocker that used to belong to our mother. It creaked every time I leaned back, groaning beneath the weight of what I couldn't yet understand. Who had Clara become? Why didn't she call me during her pregnancy? How had she hidden it for so long? And more urgently, why did she look so terrified? I replayed her voice in my head, over and over again. I can't keep her safe. From what? Around 4 a.m., Lily woke up crying, a shrill, urgent cry that clawed into my chest. I fumbled my way through a bottle, cradled her with awkward arms, and sang the first lullaby that came to mind. Her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, so small and light I could barely feel them. When she finally fell asleep again, I stared at her face. Her features were delicate, barely defined, but there was something unmistakable about the curve of her mouth and the shape of her brow. She looked like Clara, and for the first time in years, I saw my sister not as the reckless, wild child I had resented, but as someone fragile, human, haunted. Morning came gray and quiet. I didn't go to work. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Instead, I made a list. Asterisk diapers. Asterisk formula. Asterisk bottles. Asterisk baby clothes. Asterisk bassinet. Then I opened a new note in my phone and titled it, "In case she comes back." I wrote down everything I could remember about Clara's visit. Her clothes. Her eyes. The way she kept glancing behind her like someone was following. The exact words she said. I also found something she left behind. While changing Lily's blanket, I discovered a piece of folded paper tucked inside one of the seams. It was wrinkled and smudged, written in Clara's handwriting. Asterisk, if anything happens to me, Lily is meant to be with Aaron. She's my sister. She'll protect her. Asterisk. There was no date, no signature. Just those words, deliberate, final. I stared at them for a long time. Not long after, I made the first of many decisions that would change my life. I didn't call the police. I didn't report Clara missing. I told myself it was because she asked me not to. That she was an adult who clearly didn't want to be found. That the moment I called someone, I'd be handing Lily over to the system. But deep down, I knew there was another reason. I didn't want to lose Lily. I'd only held her for a few hours, but already something in me had shifted. The thought of handing her over to a stranger made my stomach twist. I told myself it was temporary, that Clara would come back. That's what I believed the first day, and the first week, and the first month. 3 months later, Lily had a crib, a pediatrician, and her own drawer in my dresser. People started asking questions. Friends, coworkers. Whose baby is that? I told them I was fostering her, that her mother was a friend in crisis, which wasn't exactly a lie, but it also wasn't the truth. I tried looking for Clara, quietly. I searched her name online. Nothing recent. I called her old number. Disconnected. I even reached out to a few people from her past, people I hadn't spoken to in years. No one knew where she was. One of them, a girl named Marnie, said something strange. She always talked about disappearing, Marnie told me over the phone. Said it would be better for everyone if she could just vanish. I thought she was being dramatic. But she always had secrets, you know. I didn't. Not really. But maybe I never knew my sister at all. I never filed for custody, not officially. I didn't dare. Not without answers. Instead, I lived in a strange limbo, waiting for the other shoe to drop. For Clara to return, or for someone else to knock on my door and demand answers I didn't have. But months turned into a year. A year turned into 3. And by then, Lily didn't feel like a temporary guest in my life. She was my daughter. She called me Mama before she turned 2. She had Clara's eyes and a laugh that could light up a whole room. Every birthday, I lit a candle and told her she was loved beyond words. I never mentioned Clara. I never told Lily where she came from. I was waiting for the right time. That time never came. Then, On the morning of her 10th birthday, as we were getting ready for her party, I heard a sound I hadn't heard in 10 years. 3 sharp knocks at the door. I paused. A strange coldness spread through me as I wiped my hands on a dish towel and walked to the front door. My heart was pounding, even before I saw who it was. I opened it slowly, and there she was, Clara, dry, composed, and smiling like she hadn't missed a single day. She looked me up and down and said, "Hi, Aaron. I'm here for my daughter." For a moment, all I could do was stare. It had been 10 years. 10 years since the rain-soaked night Clara handed me Lily and disappeared into the shadows. 10 years without a single word. Not a postcard, not a phone call, not even a cryptic message through a mutual friend. I had imagined every scenario: prison, rehab, a tragic accident, even death. But not this. Not Clara standing on my porch with sleek hair, a pressed coat, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I felt the towel slip from my hands to the floor. Lily was in the kitchen, humming softly to herself as she iced cupcakes. She didn't know the woman on the doorstep. She had no idea the storm that was about to rip through her life. I stepped outside and quietly pulled the door closed behind me. Clara arched an eyebrow. "No hello." I swallowed hard. "Where have you been?" She gave a slow, deliberate shrug. "It's a long story. That's not good enough." Her smile faltered slightly. She folded her arms, scanning the porch like she was taking inventory of my life. The potted plants, the worn welcome mat, the chalk drawings Lily had made on the railing a few days ago. "I'm not here to fight, Aaron," she said gently. "I'm just here for my daughter." The air seemed to collapse out of my lungs. "You don't get to call her that," I said quietly. "You left her on my doorstep with nothing but a bottle and a note." "She's mine," Clara replied, her voice sharpening just slightly. "I did what I had to do back then. But things have changed." "No," I said, shaking my head. "No. You don't get to waltz back in and make declarations like that. You haven't even seen her in a decade. She doesn't know you. She doesn't remember you. She's not your daughter. She's mine." Clara's jaw tightened. "Don't say that." I folded my arms, adrenaline surging through me like a second heartbeat. "Give me one good reason why I should even let you speak to her." She hesitated, just for a second, and something flickered across her face. A shadow. Maybe guilt. Maybe something else. Then she looked straight at me and said, "Because I'm not safe, and neither is she." I didn't speak. The wind rustled the trees behind us. A dog barked down the street. Somewhere in the kitchen, Lily laughed at something on the tablet I'd let her borrow to watch baking tutorials. Clara stepped closer. "Can we go inside? Please. I'm not here to hurt anyone." The irony was bitter. She already had. But something about the urgency in her eyes made me nod. Slowly, cautiously, I led her through the door. As soon as Lily turned around, her eyes widened. "Who's that?" Clara froze. I stepped forward. "Sweetheart, this is an old friend of mine." Clara smiled, too brightly. "Hi, Lily. You've grown so much." Lily tilted her head, confused. "Do I know you?" "No," I answered quickly, placing a hand on Clara's arm. "She's just stopping by." "Cool," Lily said with a shrug, and skipped back to her cupcakes. "Kids are funny that way." Someone could walk in from Mars, and if they weren't told it was important, they didn't make it important. I ushered Clara into the hallway and closed the door behind us. "Talk," I said. We sat at the dining table like strangers in a job interview. The last time we'd been face to face, we were in our 20s. She was crying, I was screaming, and Lily was a newborn swaddled in panic. Now, she was sipping tea like it was a casual visit. "I was in hiding," Clara finally said. "It was the only way to keep her safe." I raised an eyebrow. "From who? The mafia? An evil cult? Come on, Clara." She didn't smile. "From her father." That stopped me cold. "I never told you who he was," she continued. "It wasn't just some hookup. He was dangerous, controlling, violent. I tried to leave, and he found me. I had bruises for weeks. When I found out I was pregnant, I knew I had to disappear. But I couldn't take care of a baby. I couldn't give her what she needed. So I brought her to you." I stared at her. "You never told me any of this." "I didn't want to drag you into it. But now you're here, dragging us into it." She leaned forward. He's gone now. He died 2 months ago. Car accident. I've been watching from a distance, waiting. I knew the second I heard he was gone, it was time to come back. To do what? Reclaim the child you abandoned like a package. She's mine, Clara said again, and this time there was steel in her voice. I made the hardest choice of my life when I left her with you. But I never stopped being her mother. My throat went dry. I'm not saying we rip her world apart today, Clara added, but she deserves to know who she really is. She deserves me. I felt something old and fierce rising in me, something that had been growing for 10 years without my permission. Don't you dare come in here and pretend like this is about Lily, I snapped. This is about you. About your guilt. About your need to feel like a mother again. Well, guess what? You don't get that back just because you show up in a nice coat and tell a sad story. Clara's face twisted. She's not yours. She's more mine than she ever was yours. Silence fell over us like a bomb. Then Clara stood up and whispered, "We'll see about that." She left quietly. I watched her drive away through the front window, her taillights disappearing around the corner like a threat. I didn't tell Lily who she was that night. I tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and sat awake until morning, rereading the note Clara left me all those years ago. Asterisk, if anything happens to me, Lily is meant to be with Aaron. Asterisk, but what if nothing had happened to her? What if the danger was just beginning? The days that followed felt like I was living underwater. I moved through them on muscle memory, packing Lily's lunch, dropping her off at school, answering emails, folding laundry, but nothing felt real. Every sound startled me. Every knock made my stomach flip. I kept expecting Clara to appear again, standing at the window, or lurking at the edge of the schoolyard waiting. But she didn't. She vanished again. And somehow that made it worse, because it meant she was planning something. On the 4th day, I got a letter. A thick, cream-colored envelope wedged tightly into my mailbox, with my full legal name printed in heavy serif font. No return address. I knew before I opened it. Inside was a formal notice, a petition to establish biological parentage and custody. I dropped onto the porch bench like the air had been knocked out of me. She was suing me. For custody. For Lily. That night, I called my friend Natalie, who was a family attorney. She listened in stunned silence as I read the paperwork to her over speakerphone. She's not listed on the birth certificate, I explained. I never adopted Lily formally because Clara gave me full guardianship through a notarized letter and disappeared. There's never been any challenge to it. Not having a formal adoption is a problem, Natalie said carefully. Even after 10 years? Even then, technically, you're her legal guardian, not her legal parent. And if Clara can prove biological maternity and that she's fit, she can petition for some form of custody. Maybe even full custody. My heart dropped into my stomach. She left her. Natalie sighed. And that will matter. A lot. But so will the fact that she's back. And apparently stable. The courts tend to prioritize biological ties unless there's clear evidence of danger. She said Lily's father was dangerous. She might use that to her advantage, Natalie said grimly. To show she did what she had to in order to keep Lily safe. It might make her look like a protective mother rather than a negligent one. I squeezed my eyes shut. This can't be happening. I'll help you, she said gently. But Aaron, get ready for a fight. I didn't tell Lily. Not right away. She was only 10. Sweet, bookish, imaginative. She had no concept of courtrooms or custody battles. She still thought families were like puzzles that always fit together in the end. And I couldn't bear to be the one to shatter that for her. But I couldn't protect her forever. I started sleeping with the hallway light on again, like I used to when she was a baby, and I would wake up at the slightest whimper. Only now, the danger didn't come from fever or nightmares. It came from Clara. A week passed. Then 2. Lily noticed the change. "Why aren't you eating dinner with me anymore?" she asked one night as I sat on the couch, reviewing documents while she picked at her pasta. "I'm just busy with work, sweetheart." She squinted. "Are you mad at me?" The question nearly broke me. I set the papers down and pulled her close. "Never. I'm just trying to make sure everything stays okay. For us." She nodded, but I saw the worry bloom in her eyes like a bruise. Later that night, She asked me again about the lady who came over. Is she your friend? I hesitated. She used to be. Is she coming back? I don't know. Do you want her too? That one stopped me cold. I couldn't lie. Not to Lily. Not to her face. No, I said finally. Not really. Lily thought for a moment. I didn't like her. She stared at me like she was trying to memorize my face. My skin prickled. She said my name weird, too, Lily added. Like it made her sad. I tucked her in with trembling hands. 2 days later, I found Clara at the school. She wasn't in the building, thank God, but standing just outside the gate after pickup, holding a takeaway coffee, like any other mom waiting for her child. She smiled when she saw me. I didn't smile back. You have no right to be here, I hissed as I stormed over to her, dragging Lily gently behind me. It's a public sidewalk, Clara said calmly. And I wasn't trying to talk to her. I just wanted to see her. She's not a zoo animal. I'm her mother. You're a stranger, I snapped. You gave up that right when you left her with me and vanished. Lily was staring now, wide-eyed. I realized too late that I'd raised my voice. Mom, she asked quietly. Who is that? Clara stepped forward, too fast, and crouched down. I'm someone who loves you very much, she said softly. I stepped between them. Back. Off. Clara straightened, but there was fire in her eyes now. You think you can keep me away from her forever? I will. Clara smiled, calm and dangerous. We'll see what the judge says. That night, I sat on the edge of Lily's bed and told her the truth, or as much of it as I could. I told her the woman she'd seen was someone from before she could remember. Someone who had once been close to me, and that now, that person wanted to be part of her life again. Like a long-lost aunt. Lily asked, clearly trying to make sense of it. Something like that. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, But do I have to talk to her? I held her close. No, not unless you want to. And I will never let anyone hurt you. Ever. She nodded against my shoulder, and I felt the small weight of her trust sink into my bones like lead. But later, after she fell asleep, I stared at the ceiling, haunted by one truth I couldn't shake. I might not be able to protect her from this. And Clara wasn't the only one with secrets, because I had one too, buried in the back of my closet, inside a shoebox wrapped in old baby clothes. A secret I had never dared open since the day Clara disappeared. A DNA test. The first court hearing was scheduled on a rainy Monday morning. It felt like the sky knew. Thick, gray clouds hung low, casting everything in a dull, blue gloom. I sat on the edge of the courtroom bench, my palms slick with sweat despite the chill in the air. Lily was at school. I had made sure of that. I told her I had a meeting, and technically that wasn't a lie. But what I didn't tell her was that today, a stranger, her biological mother, was trying to claim a piece of her life through legal ink and fragile memory. And I was doing everything in my power to stop her. Clara sat across the room, perfectly composed in a navy blue blazer and low heels. Her hair was tied back in a sleek bun. She looked responsible, stable, like someone who recycled and paid bills on time. No one would guess that 10 years ago, she'd left her child behind with nothing more than a panicked note and a bag of diapers. She glanced at me once, just once, and I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't scared anymore. She was ready. The judge was a woman in her 50s with tired eyes and a voice like gravel. She read through the papers quietly while both our attorneys stood like statues. I didn't expect. I'm not here to take her away. I blinked. What? She has a mother, she said. And it's not me. Not really. You're the one who stayed. Eventually, the court gave Elena full legal custody as Lily's biological mother. But then, at Elena's request, I was named permanent legal guardian. No expiration. No conditions. We told Lily together. She was shocked, of course. Confused. But somehow, she handled it better than I ever could have imagined. You mean I have 2 moms now? She asked. Elena smiled through tears. If that's okay with you. Lily nodded. It is. But I still want Aaron to tuck me in. And just like that, a truth that could have broken us became something new. Something healing. We never saw Clara again. She vanished the way she always had, like smoke slipping through fingers. Some days I hate her. Other days I mourn her. But most of the time, I just try not to think of her at all. Lily is 12 now. She calls Elena her bonus mom. We see her often. Picnics, movie nights, Sunday pancakes. It's not perfect, but it's real. And when I look at Lily across the table, her curls bouncing as she laughs about some school story, I feel one thing above all. Gratitude. Gratitude for the girl who saved me. Gratitude for the woman who forgave me. And gratitude for the life we built out of a lie that turned into something true.